Welcome everyone to Friday night in FishEZ's Fish Room. And we're going to take a moment tonight to talk about a few things that's going on in this fish room with all these tanks behind me and all the things happening this week. And I certainly hope I'm coming across loud and clear. It looks like there's already some discussion going on. Wow, I missed a lot already. Hello, Jeff. Thank you for joining. So, Cosmin, you're commenting on how cheap you are. In other words, yeah, that fry bin is not necessarily cheap, and so you have to put out some money. But I'm going to talk about, is it worth it tonight? Is the Lowell's fry tray worth it? And I really want to point out some really nice things and features about it. It very well could be that it might suit you well. It might be that you could get by without it. It all depends on your circumstances. Hello, Shady Grady. And Sandy is joining us also tonight. This is great. All the old team is back. It's been a difficult last few weeks for Jeff. I know he's been working so hard on his fish room, and there's so much to do. Well, so we have a lot going on around in this area of the country as well. This is Ontario, near Toronto, and we are planning a fish auction in April 6th in the Peel Regional Aquarium Club. That would be located in Mississauga, I believe. Actually, the venue will be in Brampton, not too far from Mississauga. And so I just wanted to throw that out and let everybody know. It means a lot of work for club members, but it certainly is worth it. When everybody is able to come together and bring their stuff and their special fish that they've been holding on to, maybe a fry or some batches of fry, and they want to share it with others. A fish auction is a wonderful way to do that. It doesn't mean you're going to get rich. It just means that you have opportunities to catch things, or shall we say, get things, if you bid high enough, to bring something home that may be something different. Maybe it's a item that you just don't see in the local fish stores. And so that's where fish auctions are quite awesome, really, because you find things that you can't normally get. But that's going on, and you can always check out all the auctions going on in Canada by going to caoac.ca. That's caoac.ca. And CAOAC stands for Canadian Association of Aquarium Clubs. Canadian Association of Aquarium Clubs, CAOAC. And so by going there, there's an events page, and they have all the events, all the different auctions. There's one going on in Hamilton. There's one going on in Kitchener, Waterloo area, and these are going on all the time. Of course, if you're one of those fellas in the United States watching this, and you know what I'm talking about, there's always a ton of different auctions going on in the Minnesota area and some of those Midwest states, because fish keeping is very popular there. Well, let's get into some of the things we're going to look at tonight. We'll get to the fry tray in just a moment. What is the purpose behind the fry tray? Well, we'll also maybe touch on that. There's going to be some new things, developments that we've tried, just to kind of go back in retrospect, or shall we say regress into a few episodes ago. We had some discus eggs from two pairs, and neither of those eggs hatched. There were no hatches from neither one of those batches. However, this week there was something that occurred, and that is I'm in the process of cleaning up the breeding tanks. I want to really make them a little more sterile, a little more clean, bring them up to standards for actual discus breeding. I don't know that that's the case with the pairs that we had eggs from before, but there's one pair in particular that keeps laying eggs, lays eggs, and they just don't seem to get the idea. The babies do hatch. They eat them. Sometimes they eat the eggs, and this has been going on. It's almost 10 times now, and they're still not getting it. So this is one of those pairs that I'm really questioning whether or not it can be done naturally. So we're going to try some artificial work. Let me show you the eggs. This week they laid. I was a little upset because they had eggs. They took the eggs, hatched them, but we put a grill over the eggs so they wouldn't eat them, right? So the fry hatch, they're wiggling right there in front of them, and the parents are watching them. And the next thing you know, the moment that the fry become free swimming, they ate them and laid eggs. A whole new batch. And this time they didn't even lay them on the cone because it still had the grill over it, and they laid them on the heater. So I was so upset, I just took out the heater. Here's what you're going to see. Let's take a look at that heater. Over here in the fish room, on the workbench, well, this is like a semi-workbench. This is where I keep, I have this small tank that I'm growing some of the, I forget the name. If anybody knows the name of that miniature valve, it doesn't get much higher than this. It's about maybe 6 inches. It's not big valve. It's like, there's a name for it. I'm not big on plants. I wish I were. I'm learning all the time. This is where I keep also the Daphnia cultures. We're doing them in the jars. And this one I reset this week. It's green now. I fed all the breeding pistogrammas with the Daphnia that's in there. But here, right in front of us, on Tuesday night, I believe they laid it because I collected on Wednesday. Here are the eggs. And tonight's Friday, so this has already been 2 days. And as you can see, these eggs looking really good. If they were laid on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this is the 3rd day, I would expect to see hatches by now. Maybe it's not been warm enough. Let me take the flashlight and see if I can shine it a little better. Yeah. Gives you a good view of it. There's only 4 eggs that turned white. Now that in itself is pretty awesome. Now what I did was I put them in RO water, of course, very low TDS. We don't want them calcifying. And pH I'm not too worried about. These are turquoise discus. They're not. They can typically even hatch eggs in hot little pH of 7 or more, but in my RO water usually the pH is about 6.7. Yeah. In fact, I did a reading just the other day. My tap is 7.6, RO 6.7, so just under 7. TDS 270 out of the tap. My filter is putting out 20 TDS. So that's good enough right now. So these eggs I think will start to hatch tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is I'd like to hatch them, but because I put methylene blue in the water, what I'd really like to do is I'd like to remove the methylene blue. So let's see. How to do that is not a problem. How to remove it, I'm just going to I'm going to go ahead and do it right now and let you see. It's not rocket science. Hi Ryan, thank you for joining tonight. Yeah, we have our actually, I don't know what size tank you're expecting, but we have our discus breeders, a pair of discus. If you have a 20-gallon tall, that's the minimum size, but you had a 30-gallon, that would be good too. Here we have the blue. I'm just going to I have a barrel of RO water already made. So what I'm going to do is just take a different container. This is all I do. Here's the cleanest one I can see. This one's super clean. And we'll go ahead and pump some RO water into it. And my goal was, here's my pump switch. I just click pump switch. Okay, here we go. Fill it up. Okay. About the level the other one is. That's interesting. I put some muck. There's some muck in the tube. What it is like algae and stuff grows in the tube, and then every once in a while it dislodges itself and comes out. So what I can do is I'll take another container. I have more of these, and I'm just going to filter the water with my brine shrimp 16 micron filter. I just hate that stuff floating around. There we go. There, crystal clear water. No debris floating around. So we got a white background. Okay, fine. So this is what I'm using, and the temperature has a heater in the barrel, so I'm feeling the temperature is pretty good. Although I probably used most of the water out of the tube, so it wasn't in the barrel, but not important. So here I'm going to remove. I just put that in there. Let's take a look at what it does when I remove. They laid on this heater. By the way, this heater is not plugged in, of course. There we go. And that's all I do. Now, blue, I don't need them to be hatched out. I'm just one of those guys that if I can, I try to remove the methylene blue just before hatching. Just before hatching. I have some circulation to give good flow over the eggs so that they can get oxygen from the water. Let's see, actually, the thing got turned, didn't it? Let me just turn it like this. Here we go. Oh, I dislodged 2 eggs. Gotta be careful about things like that. Okay, so let's take a look. I used the clip only because what I found is the heater kept falling over. Let's take a quick look at that. And here we go. Let's see if I can change the camera around. All right, so now in clear water, you can see better what's going on. These are discus eggs. Hi, Red Laser. Dublin Creek Aquatics. Everybody's joining tonight. HHD. So this is a batch of discus eggs that we're going to try to raise artificially. Now, the best source of information that I have found on the internet about raising discus eggs or befry artificially is from several years ago. And that individual created a system so that the eggs would get constant, shall we say, water flow, basically trying to keep the water from fouling. And that was the big issue because you were using egg yolk for the food. So I thought, wow, it's interesting that video, and I don't remember the name of it exactly, honestly. It's in my history. I have to go back and find it. But that particular video, it turns out that he would use these. Maybe you know which video I'm talking about. If any of you have seen it, he would use these for the dark and put the food on here for the dark, and then he would put them in a white bowl. Then he would take a pump and he would pump water that just kind of splashed into the bowl. And then the bowl had a way of water getting out through a sieve. But you know what? I'm going to use some of his techniques, but I'm also planning on using a Lowell's tray to do the rest of the work that he had already figured out was necessary. But in those days, there was no Dean's fry tray system, and there was no tray system at all. Nowadays, we have several people out there making them. These are all DIY kind of systems. In the Lowell system, you can print the actual tray on a 3D printer, and so it's available. All you have to do is get the files from Lowell. If you know anything about 3D printing, you can print one, and that's the awesome part of it, because it makes it available and makes it easy. But what I would like to point out tonight is that there's something even more than just the tray system. It's not Dean's tray system. It's a new and improved system. It's improved in a lot of ways, and so I'll point out some of those things that made it special. But here it is. Right now, I have my Dean's concept transformed into a Lowell's tray system. Let's see if we can get the here it is. One of the things that makes it different is that with this system, these bars pull in and out, so it adjusts to the width of your tank, and that's really convenient. Now, many of your DIY systems, what they do is they come with a tray that's pretty much a tray you buy from the store. It's fixed in length, and you have to find the right size for your tank that you're going to use it on. Now, right behind this is a 20-gallon long, and I have 4 Lowell's tray systems that will sit side by side, 1, 2, 3, and it works out to fit 4 of them in a 20-gallon long. So that may be the future here. Nevertheless, right now I have positioned this particular one in a rimless small tank. It's bigger than a 2.5 gallon, and it's smaller than a 5.5 gallon. And so what you're seeing here is a special system set up so that the water quality stays high. Now, I just want to point out that the bigger the water tank down below, the better, because you're talking specifically about how to keep it in the most cleanest, best way. Also, the heater is located in this, and I put an air stone close to the heater so it doesn't stratify. So I need some current going around in this tank, so I just put an air stone. It doesn't have to go crazy. It just has to stir up the heat so that it's an even temperature. And then you'll notice the water gets sucked into this intake on the bottom of the tray, and it goes up through an airlift and comes out to the top. Now, this is the most beautiful design I've ever seen. He has taken a cap, and he's taking the cap to cover the water as it comes in. And that's what you see, water flowing in and going through a system where it comes in, it flows around, and then it goes into the tray, one side and the other side. As you can see, this could be turned up or it can be turned down, the amount of air and the amount of water it's pushing. But it's definitely lifting water from the heated tank into the tray. But this thing makes it silent. It's a silencer, basically. You don't hear anything. And you know when those breeder boxes, they go gurgle, 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 gurgle. You know, they're just making all this noise, typically. Okay, it fits perfectly, this thing. Okay, I'm looking through the camera. I gotta... What have I done here? There we go. It fits perfectly. Cap down and smooth. Silencer. Currently, what you're looking at is a group of a spawn of German blue rams. And in these German blue rams, you'll notice that there's quite a few in there. And they're swimming around just wonderful. And they're also finding rounded corners. Again, another feature of the ability of Lowell to actually design something that is going to work with fish, and not just, okay, I got this box from a store and I got a DIY make it work. He's also built these little clips to hold a piece of hard air tubing, which serves the purpose of breaking the surface tension. Now, if you remember on the Dean's fry system, he does that too. He uses the hard, but he has it separate. This is sort of like clipped on, so you don't have to have a ceiling overhead holding the air. So it's a really nice feature. Now, additionally, to keep this thing from wiggling back and forth or moving about, there are also clips like this one put on each corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. And those clips hold it in place. It locks it into place. It's not going to move. This tray system also has something else. For all you ram breeders out there, I want to point out something, okay? I want to point out something. You see, in the corners or in the areas where the water comes up to the surface, at the surface, the water comes up along the sides, and it sort of bends up, and it's called adhesion. If you're familiar with adhesion, it means that water is sort of drawn up the sides, and so that creates a crevice where the little fry can hide, and it's not good. We've lost so many fry that way because they get up into that crevice and they just like float there and they just don't get around. But would you believe that if the surface of the hard material, the material that's holding the water, if it's not smooth, and in this case it's 3D printed, so there is some roughness to it. There's definitely roughness to it. Yes. Meyer, thank you so much, Meyer, for your super chat. I did see it. It's wonderful that you support the channel this way. I thank you so much. And what I'm pointing out, Meyer, is that when you have a rough surface, adhesion has a tough time forming that crevice. So this is something that could be revolutionary in breeding black rams and electric blue rams, and especially those smaller ones that have that tendency just like that. I know you've had that with your black rams, Meyer, and I have the same issue. It's happened to me too. But I'm anxious to try this on some black ram batches because I really believe that the roughness. Now, on the other hand, some people might argue that because it's not smooth, and I know Steve at Scheller Aquatics is going to say this, because he's many times talked about this. Oh, you know, I saw him on his video about the baby brine shrimp and being always using a very soft brush. He doesn't want to put micro abrasions and cause areas where bacteria can grow. All right, fine. However, be that as it may, this roughness is going to do the same thing. It's going to cause bacteria to grow in the crevice or the lines, the roughness, and it could be a breeding ground for something very bad. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means sterilization. So after each use, I may have to sterilize it in such a way so that such a problem wouldn't exist. It won't exist. But that's not an issue, I don't think, because it's better to do some cleaning anyway. And this isn't the same application as what he was talking about regarding the brine shrimp. Now, as water overflows, it comes over to this side. And as you can see, I've replaced what Lowell provides. Lowell provides this, a perfectly sized block of sponge, and it fits perfectly right here. Boom. That's nice. But I think you might be able to ascertain where I'm going with this, because although this is ideal, I cut out some blocks myself from, it is a material used in filters, so it's like filter floss padding. So I cut out some about the same size, maybe a little bit bigger, so it would squeeze in, and I put it in. Now this piece right here is in fact turning brown because I'm feeding brine shrimp, I'm feeding micro powder, and it's collecting and turning it brown, because that was white, just like this one. But I cut out more than just one of these. I have a whole pile right here. See there? And the reason why is because I'm going to have to change this out constantly and clean it. Why? Because with Discus, if I use this for trying the artificial Discus raising, I have to have everything white. And so this is can't be black. I can't use this. This won't work for Discus. They will go straight to this and just stay in there and get caught and die in the foam. I don't even have to try it out. I already know. This is what I need. So I'll be using white ones, and I'll just replace it. This is cheap stuff, so I'll just keep replacing it. I don't worry about the rams in this case, so it's turning brown, but that's okay. It just kind of gives me an idea of how often I'm going to have to clean this when the discus are in there. So that is the beautiful system. It's flowing and it's doing its job. And you see all the fry in this system. If these were apistogrammas, if they were, I would have some Java moss in there. Whoops, sorry. I'd have some Java moss because babies like to hide in, and they like to have a place where they can. Rams don't care. Rams, I've noticed, they just don't. They just float around in groups like a cloud. And these guys are really good, doing well. And temperature here is bumped up to 82 right now, 83. Oh, wait a minute, it says 85. So right now it's 85 in there. And the reason I bumped it up is because with rams in discus, I want to have it warmer. And then this will keep it constant as opposed to just relying on the room temperature of the fish room. And that's important. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take another one of Lowell's trays, and here it is right here. We're going to open it up in a minute, and I'm going to set it up on this tank, and we're going to put the discus in there, okay? And so this particular one has, I just have an epistogram in here. There's nothing special about this tank other than it's almost sitting on the edge. Eventually, I'm going to get the fish out of the back tank and maybe use that one for tray systems. I don't have enough room above, but we may just have to live with constraints because this fish room is very tight, as you can see. But that's the concept. These are the features that make this item awesome. And let's take one apart now, and so you can all see what it looks like. And I'm going to get this is how it arrives. When I ordered one, I got it through Etsy. And here we go. Now, he doesn't ship to Canada. That's the sad thing. So if you're like me, you had to ship it to Buffalo, and then I had to pay extra to go get it by crossing the border. And then I crossed the border and picked up the items, paid additional taxes, etc., etc. It's kind of a bummer, but that's the way it is around here. Because just to ship something, okay, so he really did a great job. Even though there was a box of these things, each one was individually bubble wrapped. And I think it's like once he created them, he was able to make it so that it was so easy to just wrap it individually with all the parts and then just go to the shelf, get the box per order. Okay, so all bubble wrapped and in boxes. Let's see what he did. He did a beautiful job. Trays. The printout is awesome. And so that's what the tray looks like. It even comes with packing so that the things inside don't jostle around. Okay, and you get a number of goodies on the inside. You get the intake. You get a spare intake. Spare. You only need one, but he throws in a spare. These sponges that go here, you get, oh, wait a minute, there's already one there. Well, that's interesting. And then giving you two spare. And then these are all the clips that I pointed out a moment ago. And a little piece of hardline. These are things you can buy yourself locally if you can, but he's making it so easy for you. He's done all the work. So here's let's see if I can show that. This is the adjustment on the length, both sides. So it comes out, goes to the width of your tank, and then of course slides. So you need the clips to hold it in place. And there we have it. Clean as a whistle. And then the black foam, which of course when you first start it, you'd want to wet it and get it all wet because the water will flow through it. Otherwise, it'll just clog. There is two weirs, by the way, in case it does overflow past the. And these are little design features. This little weir here, for example, if this were to clog up, water will go into your tank right over this little. There's a word on your roof. I don't know if it's scuppers. It might be called scuppers. And some roofs have these kind of designs so that on flat roofs, if it ever should fill up, it has a way of getting out in a certain location. Now, just to show you the most important thing to know, is that right here, the hole for the intake is 3D printed, and this is 3D printed. There's Steve. Hi, Steve. We were just talking about you. I hope you didn't mind. Enjoyed your videos this week. I've been focusing on them, mostly catching up on my watch list. I had some time the last couple of days. Anyway, this has to be put in and just screws in perfectly. I'm just going to screw it in, and voila. But Lowell warns you, don't over tighten it. You don't need to screw it tight. And he's got a good point, because the purpose of this is just to hold it in the bottom. And here's one with the cover or the intake sponge filter, in case you have something in the tank. In my case, I don't even have something in the tank. I could pull mine off. I don't even know why I'm using it. I didn't think about that. There's no fish down and below, so that would work. So notice the holes. The airline goes right in here. This is not the airline, but this could represent one. It just pushes right in here, and it's done. There's no hard, difficult. It is a perfect design because it does the job without breaking off, or breaking off the tip of a what do you call those little probes that your airline goes on to. So it does a great job of doing that. Your airline just goes in, you feel a little click, and it's totally enough. Because all you're doing here, you're pushing up air. Remember, if there's a crack or water that can get through here, or air, don't worry about it. Because remember, the water is being pushed up. And where does it go? It goes into this little pocket here. It's not going directly into the bottom of your tray. It goes into this corner piece, which is built into the tray. So in other words, there's nothing down here. If I can show you, there's nothing down here. This is all solid. There's no crack. There's no air getting in. There's no water coming in that area. So that's what makes it such a perfect design. It could be done that way because it's 3D printed. But this is where it's coming up to at the top. So it's coming up. So okay, fine. So water gets up here, whatever, But really, it's just the intake. It's just going straight up to the top. Comes out the top, overflows, and then can go out the weir at the other end. So there you have it. I appreciate very much. There's so many good things, Steve, that you mentioned in your videos this week. I really encourage everybody to go over and join Steve's page if you haven't subscribed already. It's Sheller Aquatics, where he focuses on discus breeding. But a lot of things, he's got a ton of experience raising black rams, angelfish, all those things that we do here too. So great tips and things. And I'm still picking up little points that I would love to chat with you about. And I just always busy when I'm watching or listening. I don't know, maybe I should just get a pencil and paper while I'm doing it, because usually I'm changing water at the time I'm listening. And so you're talking in the background, and who knows, maybe you're doing water changes right now, and you're doing the water changes and you're listening to me. I mean, this is like how it is, right? With us fish keepers trying to do two things at once. I will say this though, Greg Sage taught me this, and well, he told me this, and I learned that he was right, that we only have the capability of paying attention to two things at once. Okay, two things. So the moment you do a third thing, you'll lose it. And he was right. Lots of experience there. He only allows himself to do two things at once. So if you're draining a tank over here and you're filling a tank over there, don't do anything else. If you think you're going to I can, just go over here and clean out the bottom while that's draining and that's filling, and now you're doing three things, it will be disaster. Can't tell you how many times in the back room, I suddenly hear some fish flopping around. I realize I drained the tank to zero. Fish are flopping around. I have to run over and put some water in, or overflow the tank. That's worse. Water on the floor in the back. It's like you're not watching it. But that's because I started a third thing. And even if it's a discussion, sometimes. So I don't want to be taking notes while I'm listening to your if I'm already doing two things, because that would be a third thing, and I don't want to do. So I've learned my lesson, and I have to abide by the rules of the fish room. Flooding a floor is the rite of passage. You know, Mayor, you're right on. You're right on. We've all done it, flooding the floor. I've unfortunately that wall right there. That's my bedroom on the other side, and water will go under that wall, and the carpet will be wet. And it's a disaster. You know, when that happens. So like for example, when I'm refilling my tanks, I have to be standing here. I'm not allowed to leave the room. Chancey, I would love to show the black rams, but they're not here at this particular location. They're at the grow out center. We have the black ram breeding over there. The only thing I have is I do have a single black ram in my community tank. Where did he go? I saw him earlier. He's just hanging out here. Yeah, the rams are over there. Right here in this is what we call the nursery. And in the nursery, we have a lot of the babies come over in the form of eggs, and then I hatch them and raise them here and then bring them back to the grow out. So at the grow out, there's at least 150 to 200 tanks. Here, there's only 40. There's only about 45 tanks. So Steve, that's great. Restoration company. Yes, clean floods in my sleep. Oh, I tell you, so true. But as you can see here, Chauncey, these, like for example, these tanks, this was set up. Let me show you some of the fry here. I didn't show you the fry, which I normally do on my live streams. I just show everybody what's going on. This was from I think 1226. Yeah, 1226. These are Bethia patamaya, which is Odessa barbs. These are the Odessa barb batch. And then here, this batch is a batch of black rubies. Black rubies, they've really done nice. I will say this, from time to time, I haven't done any water changes on this tank. Normally I would do tons of water changes, and like this one needs it all the time. And yet this one I don't, and it's crystal clear. And it's because there is a huge batch of Java moss growing in this tank, and it's taking off. You just look at it. It's the most beautiful plant. And sometimes if you don't disturb it, the Java moss, it'll just keep growing and growing like that. And I guess the fish waste is what it is feeding off of. It's doing awesome, and the tank is crystal clear. Now, here's some black rams. These black rams, these fry came, let's see, do I have it? Yeah. They came from tank 2LB3 in the other place facility, and they're like 1217, so they're much older than the black rubies. And you know what? It's funny because the black rubies are actually almost bigger now. But that's because black rams grow so slowly. They grow very slowly. And just like electric rams. It's the German blues that do so nice. So we're going to have a nice batch of those. Now, I raised the black rubies in this tank. I added the black rams because they were in a breeder box, and there were only like 6 of them, 5 or 6. And so what I have found is that once they're on baby brine shrimp, and there's only a few of them, no good. You need to get them into a bigger tank, and they need to grow in where they can thrive. I also have found, this is a trade secret, so you learned it here on FishEZ, that certain fish we like to mix, because we have found that when if this tank was only black rams, they would start killing one another. Their aggression starts picking up at 3 months old, and they start to attack, and then stress starts knocking them off. Okay, but you'll notice that there's no aggression going on because they're in a tank with 100 black rubies. How can you single out or focus on a fellow black ram when you've got this scenario? Everybody's looking for food. They get enough food. They'll wipe out brain shrimp in no time, and that's what we do. So we do mix them. Certain species can be mixed very easily. Well, most of them, but what I'm saying is that I really like putting the black rams in with these black rubies. It really worked out nice. Next one. This was a batch. We did some breeding here in this tank. We did. This is the my code for. We first did Pethiopattamaya. So this is the Odessas, and on the same day, I also put together some checkered barbs. Well, it turns out that the Odessas, there were only like 4 or 5. In fact, right now, there's an Odessa right there. That's one Odessa. I don't know if there's any more in here. There's very few of them. So then I threw in the checkered barbs because I don't want to waste tanks. They came from another 5.5, just like this one over here. I took them and moved them in here so they could grow out together because I'm not going to raise 1 or 2 Odessas in a tank like this. And then this week we did an extraction, and what you see here, these are Apistogramma, and these are the largest ones from our breeding groups. And there were so many Apistogrammas in the tank. When I removed all the babies, I needed to put them somewhere. I put them with these barbs because, again, trade secret, if you take Apistogrammas and you put them all together, yes, Meyer, great job. Yes, those are Agassizi. Those are Agassizi triple reds. And what I found is if you keep them together, they get very scared very easily. But the other fish act as dither fish, and they're out and about. Look, my finger, they used to jump to the back of the tank and huddle whenever I put my finger like this. And never could they last with a camera in front. Oh, man, they would be gone. So what I found, I took these are the leaves from their spawning tank, and the parents, they were 4 weeks old, and I said it's time to get them because the parents will want to go back down on eggs. Here's the parents. Let's go take a look real quick. This is for Mayor. Okay. Here they are. There's the male. No, that's the female. That's the female right there. Ooh, she doesn't like the camera. See that? That's the female. She's got a lot of yellow, orange. Here comes the boy. Here he comes. This is the parents. I'm expecting her to go down on eggs. Now, how I know she goes down on eggs? It's no rocket science. You just wait until she disappears. She disappears and she doesn't come out even when there's food thrown in. And after she's disappeared for 5 days, maybe a week, she makes a reappearance. But typically she's got a brood with her. And that's how you know she spawned. I don't go poking around. I don't take flashlights and try to see them. No, not necessary. Because if they're successful, they'll come out and they'll show off. What I have to worry about is low TDS and low pH at the time of spawning. And so I put new leaves in there. I put a new batch of peat moss in the filter. I don't know. I didn't mark it because after I restarted up, I need to take a reading and then I'll mark it on the tank. So for example, on this tank, these are Inca 50s, the Bianchi. There's the boy right there. Dad and mom are taking care of all these babies. I love the females. I love the black striped females of the Inca 50. You can see her in the back. She's got a nice brood here. And in a week or two, I'm going to have to do an extraction on this one. I just don't have a place to put the babies yet. So look at her. I love those stripes. She's like a tiger. But this is Inca 50 of the Bianchi group. He's got beautiful dorsal fin rays. It's really nice, this species. Next to him is another pair. They also have babies too. So everybody has broods right now. And we're going to be coming out of our... We're going to have fry coming out of our gills. There's their babies right there. You can see one. This one is a couple days, actually 2 days younger. Her babies are 2 days younger. See them? There's one. But she's got a good group too. So we're looking at... they're all coming up to the front now. On this batch here. This is the first time. I think I haven't fed them tonight. So look at them all. There must be... There's at least 30 in this one. And she probably got another 30. So we're looking at 60 to 75 fry total for the Inca 50s. I have another tank with fry of Inca 50s. Probably a total Inca 50s, we're probably looking at 100 fry. And then this is pair number 4, the 4th pair of Inca 50s. That's why it's IK4 at the top right there, IK4. And when I measured the pH, it was 4.1, 30 ppm. So oh, Jeff, wow. You know, do your tanks look like mine? Let me show you. Do they look like this? Hornwort, guppy grass, tons of leaves, cave that you can't even see. Yeah, the females get very aggressive when the babies come out. And so I don't know. It's the only way to prevent the aggression in my mind is to have lots of places to hide. But so far I've done very, very well. In fact, I will say this. I had an experience. I'll share this with you because, you know, I like to share my failures along with my successes. So up here in this tank here, I had a pair of Hogslowi, and they came out. And the female started to attack the male. I wasn't sure if he was going to survive. He's so passive. You know, the Hogslowi males are just like so docile. I was watching him very closely to make sure that if he got too torn up, I would pull him or put him in one of these little boxes that float inside so it would protect him. Well, turns out that for some reason, and I don't know why, I found the female floating dead. Just floating dead up in the hornwort. But this is the amazing part. These babies, oh, there they are. There's the Hogslowi babies, fry. There's a good number, at least 25 I counted at one point. So they're all in there, I think. But the most amazing part was that the father was taking care of the babies. They were all huddled underneath him. And we don't know what happened to the female. I really don't know what happened. It was a mystery. And so Dad was taking care of them, but I didn't want Dad to turn on them, okay? I didn't want that to happen, so I removed him. So there's just fry in this tank from January 12th, and I threw in one young super red pleco just to keep things kind of clean, and he seems to be doing great, even in a low pH. And while I'm here, Meyer, take a look. Look at that. There's a female Agassizi, but she was so aggressive to the male. And there's a bunch of fry in here. She was one that kind of like what you guys are saying. So what I did was I took the male and put him by himself next to her. And he keeps trying to get back in with her. You know, they see each other, but he's safe. This Agassizi is one of the most beautiful ones. Right now, he's not showing as much color because of look at the conditions. It's just a bare bottom tank. He's got a lot of reds in him and so forth, but on his body, this one has a lots of blue. So that's what I like. Is like he's almost approaching blue flame status. You know, it's just like gorgeous. I don't know if you can see him. He's gonna have to come out. He was out a second ago. If I stand back, the camera, they can get so camera shy. Oh, and this is the third pair of, there's the Inca 50s. Dad is there. Mom attacks him constantly, but he's never got torn fins. So I leave him in there. Babies are doing great. And he's looking good, but there's a lot of, here she comes. She is quite the mama. Stripes and all. They're an amazing pistogramma. Sorry for the glass not being so clean. I don't have any plecos or anything like that in there. I don't even think I had a cave in this one. I used some pleco caves. Over here, she spawned in some tubes. I don't know if you can see them in the back. I didn't have a pistogramma hut. Oh, here we go. Here's the tubes. I've used these. I just get some ceramics in there. Sometimes the arch does it. They will spawn on a hard surface. They don't have to have a cave. Something that's kind of a semi-cave is good enough. At any rate, that's the story. I'm raising, I just didn't want to lose these Huxley. They're our first batch, and so I'll grow these up, and we'll probably make some more breeder pairs out of that batch. Because basically, we don't know why she died, but I don't know why. He didn't die. There didn't seem to be an issue with the water or anything. Sometimes things like that happen, and we really don't know all the details of why things happen. But you know, they do, and we just have to roll with the punches. So some pairs turn out to be great, some pairs turn out to be failures, and that's what happened when we were doing a few months ago. If you remember, on this particular channel, we were looking at all the Panduro pairs, and they did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 6 Panduro pairs going. One pair, awesome. They kept having babies after babies, and the parents were like so good with each other. They were passive. They cared for their fry. Other pairs, the male and the female, they kind of like, you know, they were fighting sometimes. They had their babies, then the babies disappeared, so they didn't take care of their babies and fry. So you get pairs like that, you know, it's like, and you just have to keep putting them together and trying them out. But when you get a good pair, I like to keep them going best I can. Well, I'm going to tell you about trifasciata since you mentioned it, Maya. The reason the trifasciata here, we got 4 pair originally, and they're so aggressive to each other, especially the males to the males. You can't keep two males in the same tank. I had 4 males in the quarantine process, but in very short order, one of them was killed off. And so I lost a male, and then I lost a female. But as it turns out, I have, where are they? There's a pair here with fry. There's another pair over there that's, I haven't seen the female for 5 days, so I'm expecting fry any day. And by the way, if it goes any longer than that, sometimes I go looking through the tank and find a dead fish. they can die off. I mean, maybe the female died, but I don't go messing around for 5 days. I want her to bring out the babies because I think that's what it is. And and over in the 10-gallon right here, there's a huge spawn of trifasciata there as well. So what I found is that the males are pretty rough. But even with all that aggression, once they were mated up and once they had the babies, I was amazed. They make good parents. You're right. So they seem to do very well. The males are beautiful with their rays, their dorsal rays, and their finnage is just amazing. They're blue. Got a lot of blue on them. So I have a pair, 1 pair, 2 pair, and possibly the 3rd pair maybe going down on eggs. If that's true, if I get eggs from that 3rd pair, it will mean that even though I lost 2 fish out of the original 8, I still got the 6 fish or 3 pair remaining to spawn. And so that would, in my opinion, constitute a success, a better than success. Because when we got the 4 pair, and in some cases, I think with the Hogsloy, we got 5 pair. And with the Inca 50s, we even got a couple extra females just in case. And I do have those 2 extra females sitting in the community tank over here. I don't even have mates for. But it turns out that I get 4 or 5 pair with the hopes that at least maybe you get 2 pair to actually produce something, and that will be successful. That's the goal. If I can get 2 pair to have 2 separate spawns, that would be awesome. But when you get 3, it's a bonus. So I'm really happy from the 3 pairs. They're all marked. The fry come in. So you had a question about the lighting. The ambient lights on when you suspect the females to be on eggs, or letting the room go completely dark. Oh, no, I don't ever let my fish room get completely dark. There's a lot of reasons for that. For example, the 90-gallon where the Dawkinsia apsaras are, they would freak out when you turn the lights on or open the door and some light goes in when they've been in the complete dark. They would freak out and they would probably damage themselves. That tank always has a blue light on 24/7. And there is this little LED, you can see it right there. I just sprung it up on the wall here. It's very minimal amount of light, and that's on 24/7. So it probably could be on a timer and everything, but it's like 5 watts. So it's like when I was a kid, we had night lights that you plug into the outlet, and those were 15 watts. Okay, they were incandescent, and they were 15 watts, and we thought at that time, wow, that's a great savings. You know, it's like, because your light bulbs were 60-watt light bulbs, and you know, you had all these high wattages. But nowadays with the LED, you have more than enough light, more than those little night lights, and a third, maybe even a fourth of the wattage. Yeah. Night lights are crucial. I know. At the same time, Steve, you mentioned in one of your videos that you don't even have lights over your breeders, and the Discus need the subdued lighting. They prefer it anyway, and it's better for them, and they feel more relaxed and accustomed. So thanks for that tip. I am going to reduce the lighting over our breeders, and when I get to it, and I'm going to definitely cut it down to much less than what it is. But at the same time, when those lights go off, we have a room light, and that stays on 24/7. So they always can see something, and they will forget, especially rams. Rams are notorious for this. So if they don't see their babies, if they don't see them at night, when the morning comes, they will completely forget they have babies. They'll think, oh, more live food, and they start eating. and gobble, 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 there goes all the fry. It's just something about rams. So never, ever, ever turn your lights off completely with rams, or with that particular principle. I don't even do it. I don't even shut off every single thing. Here's a tip. I'll show you. I have 2 timers. Okay, over. This is the right, 4 tanks that we're breeding out of. 2 sets of lights. One of them you see is blue. One of them is regular white. Now I have timers. This blue one will shut off on its timer. Actually, I don't know. My timer must not be. I must have messed with it, because it should be off during the day, or when the lights are on. But all the other times, it just has the blue. So then, what we have is that's the night light for the room. There we go. So it comes on like this at night. This is what it looks like. So I do it with 2 different lights, because I don't know of any light that has 2 inputs, one for the whites and one for the blue, that you can do. You just need 2 fixtures. Those happen to be the same fixture. I was looking for a fixture the other day, because some of my lights are going now. They're getting old and they're not lasting forever. So you guys just gave me an idea. I could remove this one and use it somewhere else, and use the white lights. Use it for the daylights, because it's a 3-foot fixture. But at the same time, I would just replace it with something that I'm going to use as like a little blue light, very small, maybe like this one over my head here, like that one, which is going to be an LED, which is going to be just on to give some light. So let's see if there's any questions. Did I miss anything? If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe, or hit the thumbs up or thumbs down. I don't care. Just react to the. You only have 10 thumbs up? Oh wow! All this knowledge that I've been sharing, it's only got 10 thumbs up. I wish I could grow the channel like Steve has. His is taken off, and he surpassed me in numbers of tremendous numbers of subscribers. I don't know. I'm going to have to get some advice from you. The Planet Tank lights with apps can do both with one light. Okay. Okay. So they're like programmable, and so you at this time you do this scene, and that time you do the other scene. Yeah. And they also have ramp up and ramp down. I know that some people have these really high-end lights where you're ramping up into the night, or I should say ramping up sunrise and then kind of imitating the sunset. Nice stuff. I mean, really nice. But for a fish room, is it necessary? No, not from what we do. I do have, I kind of toy around with some plants and do some interesting setups on some tanks. But awesome is about this fish room is about breeding fish, making more fish, just like Lowell, make more fish. That's his name, his handle, and I'm in agreement. So I really enjoy making. I mean, I love it when I see 100 black rubies. You just they're just fascinating, and fish act so differently when they're in large groups. When they're accustomed to large groups and they are shoaling, they act completely different than if there's just one or two. They're stressed out when there's just one or two. A lot of fish are like that. So people go to the store and they buy one or two. It's crazy. They never get to see the best in their fish because they didn't buy enough of them. But it can be very expensive. So what I started doing was I got them and I started reproducing them, and so I can have good numbers. That's why you see I have, 30, 40 tiger barbs. They always say, the more the better. Okay, that's why I have more. And they are better. I mean, they're a lot more controlled that way. I kind of glossed over the this one here from last week. I don't know if you can see it. It's just to show you the success in this tank. This is the second time I've tried breeding these fish. You can see the small ones zipping about. Look at that. They're everywhere. There's a good group here. What is the temperature monitor, Jeff? What does that do? It monitors the temperature of the fixture? Or are you saying it has a probe into the tank? Oh, finally, Robert Lucas joins us. Hey, Robert. Just kidding. Thanks for coming. These are albino cherry barbs. So this is the second time. Yeah, Ron. What that means is end of life, and so it doesn't mean that the heater is not working. What it means is that they're recommending you to replace it. There's no way to turn that off, but maybe at one point it'll stop working, and that's okay. But I have no reason to replace it, just because. Honestly, if it's not likely to go bad, where if that heater were to stop working, usually, well, not always, but sometimes they stop working and they just turn off, and that wouldn't hurt the fish whatsoever. Now, if it cooks the fish, that's another story. We all have horror stories, or like the time I lost 37 discus because of it. And I'm sure that Steve has had a similar experience. It always happens to us. Something stays on, kicks on, goes bad. But these little tiny guys, I can replace these very easily. I mean, I don't know. I can grow more fish very easily, so I'm not so worried about the heater. And the fact that it's flashing is kind of irksome. But this one is an aquarium co-op. They got out of the heater business, didn't they? They kind of stopped doing that. And I don't blame them, because the heater business is a disaster. There's just nothing out there reliable. I don't know if anybody has come up with anything good and reliable. Nobody can say they're reliable. The best thing you can do is, like all of our discus tanks now, after that terrible experience, they all have regulators or controllers. So it's the controller. The heater can stick on all at once, but it's the external controller that will turn off the power to the heater if it gets too warm. So yeah, that's where it's good. So Meyer, you asked about the leaves. Well, let me put it to you this way. I don't have an Indian almond tree, but I do have a red oak tree that's just down the street at the park. And every fall I collect, and they're found everywhere throughout Canada. Don't use maple leaves, but you can use oak leaves, and especially the best ones are the red oak. And if you can find a red oak tree, then you can collect them, and I dry them out. I have a bag here, These are all leaves. I just take my hand and pull out a bunch. Boom. That's it. And that's why I use red oak. They work just as good. Maybe not supremely better. I mean, maybe there's some qualities or properties. I also have available to me cinnamon leaves. We also sell cinnamon leaves. We import from Sri Lanka. And there's another leaf, cinnamon, the catapa or Indian almond leaf, and then the other one, and guava leaves. I have those available to me. I can use them. You can also purchase them through us at aquarium.biz and get them from there. But I'll make those available. If some people are a little nervous about collecting leaves from out on the street where maybe there's dogs or maybe there's insecticides, but here in my town they've stopped using insecticides, and that's why we have dandelions populate the grass twice a year. They go crazy, and so they won't use any insecticides because it causes issues with the bird life apparently, and they proved it that it was causing issues, so they stopped using it. Yeah. So I don't have any fears. I've not had any issues using my locally collected leaves. But for you, Meyer, you just tell me when you need some leaves. I will make them available for you anytime. I appreciate the super chats and all the support you've given this channel. You are definitely one worthy of special appreciation, and I can collect all the leaves you want for you. Yeah, I use inkbird controllers as well, and a backup. Yeah, I have. I'm even thinking about using it for a couple of my tanks. Stray current is the main issue. Okay. So you're saying that as they break down, or if it breaks down, it could cause a current in the tank and actually affect the fish. Stray current, in my mind, is usually very small amounts of, even by putting your hand in the water, you might not even feel it. But there are very small amounts of current that could be leakage, like leakage current, and stray currents are like that, where it's not much. You might feel a tingle, but definitely the fish would feel it, and they would be affected by it. Yeah, they caught on fire for people. Yeah, these happen, and so I'm using both. I got those 4 from Aquarium Co-op, and when I pulled them out of the box, one of them had a ripped cable. It had been cut with like maybe a cutters or something. So right off the bat, they refunded me for the first one that went bad, and the second one went bad, and I think the one in here, yeah, it's Aquarium Co-op. The one with the right now I'm using here, it doesn't even come on anymore. I don't even know if it's plugged in. Let me see. Number 2. Yeah, it's plugged in. No. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's plugged in, but for those barbs, black rubies, the room temperature is good enough to breed them with. That's about 78 right now. The room is at 78, showing. A ground fault for aquariums. Well, that's interesting. So they're using a ground fault circuit interrupter, and right in, is it part of like a strip? And so if it detects a ground fault or any leakage current, then it will trip. This ground fault circuit interrupters are typically used in the breaker panels, and definitely there at the breaker. I just wanted to know if that was what you're talking about. Yeah. So we talked about a number of things. Now, the goal here is to learn how to raise some discus artificially. I don't know if you've ever had any experience with that, Steve, if you gave it a try, if you tried it sometime. I noticed that not many people are publishing about it. Oh, okay. So it has a probe. It plugs into the strip with a probe in the tank. Okay. So that's how it works. Okay. So it detects and will open it up. If I had fish that was super valuable, so I mean, I was listening to a broadcast about some of these monster fish and how many thousands of dollars you could be spending on some of these arowanas that are specially colored and so forth. Would it be wise to have some of this extra special detection devices and everything? Definitely, yeah, definitely worth it. A lot of work for you. Yeah, I know it's going to be a lot of work. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, maybe you missed it. We were talking about the pair that I took these eggs from. I've they've laid eggs. The tank is marked every time they laid eggs. Boom, boom, boom. There's like 10 times this pair has laid eggs. Every time they've eaten the eggs or they've eaten the fry. And this last week, I was so sick of it because they've laid their young pair, small pair, young. They've laid 10 times and they just don't seem to get it right. And now I'm sitting there looking at them, and they ate their fry and laid eggs the same day. They ate the fry, then laid eggs the same day. And I looked at them and I said, I'm tired of this. This is ridiculous. So I just, and they laid them on the heater. So then I just pulled the heater out and says, I'm going to give it a shot. Because if I can get, I wouldn't probably do this all the time, but honestly, if you have a pair and you just really want to get, fry out of that pair and get some stock from that particular pairing, I don't see any other way to do it. You could split them up, yeah. You could split the pair up, but then you wouldn't have any progeny from that pair. So that's kind of like the goal at this moment. We made a mistake. I don't know if it was a mistake. There's another pair from brothers and sisters to this pair. They've laid once, and they raised the fry, and then we took the fry out because we were afraid they were going to eat them. We may have taken them out a little too early. I like what you do. You mentioned in your video about 14 days, thereabouts. And so at 14 days, we might have taken them out a little bit early, and there were some complications, some issues about getting them to eat right or getting them to grow at a very early stage, and the pair didn't go back on eggs. We were afraid they were going to go back on eggs and then eat the fry. So we ended up with probably only about 20 small fry, and they're about dime size now. So they're coming along, but the pair didn't go down again. So yeah, so I also want the experience, and I also want to know how well it works with the Lowell's fry tray. So if you've never done it with the Lowell's fry tray, then I don't know who has. So that's kind of like where I'm headed with this. I really want to see what it does. Well, I didn't like the fact that they laid them on the heater. So they'll lay again. Yeah, they're still together and everything. And I'm going to try some different things in the tank by. Here's a question. The 20 gallons are just lined up. One, two, three, just like you see here. One, two, three. There's a pair in each one. And when they lay, they're attacking their neighbors so much that they're getting wild. Even the male starts beating up on the female, and I think they're just stressed out. So when they lay eggs, what do you think about putting dividers and calming the tank with some black paper at the top or something to really make it low level lighting? I'm going to give that a try next time. See if that doesn't have a better effect for this pair. Yeah, if their siblings could actually raise without eating their fry, then I know these guys can too. So it's worth a shot. But that gives me a lot of hope. Thank you, Steve. 10 times is not abnormal. Could be a turning point. Yep. Yeah, it's very frustrating. Okay. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I just hate it when the male focuses on the female as though she's the enemy, and he gets very jealous of her and keeps attacking her and bite marks and everything. It's just that's frustrating too. They should be working as a team. They picked each other. They were grown together, and they selected each other as a mate. And yet this is what happens. Wow. So it's been a great night. Some great suggestions, and thanks for giving me ideas. I've got some great ideas now, and as far as the heaters go, I'll probably end up getting some replacements as they go bad, and that would be for the breeding tanks only because I need to control the temperature. Exactly. I use a lot of 78-watt presets, and their purpose is only one thing: it's not to let the tank get too cold. Because here in Canada, for a week it was never rising above freezing outside, and so those cold temperatures tend to cool the ground around the house, and then the room starts getting colder and colder and colder and colder. And I got a heater now blowing but if that should not keep up with the temperature drop, I want the tanks to at least not get down below 78. So that's the whole purpose and goal of those. And those I find never go bad. I mean, the 78 presets, I don't know why it is. I've never heard of those kind of heaters going bad. It's only the ones where you can adjust and go up and down that seem to be the ones that go awry. So if we have any new people here connected with us, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We still don't have everybody giving a thumbs up. I don't know why. If you would leave a comment as to what you'd like to see better in future live streams, videos, and other things that are on this channel, let me know. Half the tank. It's a great idea, Jeff. Yeah, thank you. So Jeff is saying maybe not totally. That way you give a little peek, and they can see other fish, and so it gives them something to defend. That's what I like about the Epistogrammus. We saw that tonight with the Inca 50s over here. The females, did you notice them? They were like attacking the neighboring. I like that because she's not attacking her mate. She's attacking that other female with her fry on the other side. And it sort of diverts attention. But be that as it may, what I do is between each of these tanks, I put a tile. So I don't know if you can see this, but let me point it out to you. This is a tile. Oh, I have one right here. I'll show you. This is what I put. I get these from Home Depot, whatever. I slide these between the tank. Now what that does, as you can see, the lower portion of the tank, the lower portion is blocked. So when she brings out her babies, the apistogrammas feel a safe zone when they're down feeding off the ground, picking at things, and when she can't see the neighboring fish. But if the neighboring fish comes up high, she goes darting up high because she can see them now. And so that's why. Oh yeah. Okay, and so that's why I use the half blocker. But I like what you're saying for the discus. Discus are much bigger fish. They're not going to get low, so putting a tile is not going to do anything. But I like what you're saying is block out maybe the back of the tank and put some stuff in between there. That's good. Yeah. So, Ron, thank you very much. Yeah, and so you're talking about the this BB hatcher right here, right? I pull up the sieve. This gives me a small amount, but these just from a few hours. Now I have. You can see the orange, how orange it is. You see, that is the baby brine shrimp that just hatched, very small, San Francisco type, super small. So I will use that in with these cherry barbs because they're the smallest fish now. I think they're smaller than those rams. I just dump them in there and give a constant little supply of the super small ones, and then I just put the sieve back, and it will collect more. And that's really works well. And I agree. Yeah, it would be nice if it hatched more quantity, but it is what it is. Remember, it's only for the first few days when they're super small like this, but I go on to the bigger baby brine shrimp that can hatch in bigger quantities using a air tumbler, and that's what I use when I get a little bigger. Yeah, glad that worked out. Great suggestions tonight. I think we're getting all of our heads together. We're talking about some great things. Of course, if you find this content that's very useful, thank you so much. And if you want to share it with somebody, that to me is getting it out there. I'm going to do my part. I think I know what I need to do, and that is I need to advertise a little bit about when we have live streams, what we're going to talk about, and so forth, just to get it out there and let people in social media see it long before it happens. You can invite them along and join us on the stream. So it's been a great evening. It's been now an hour and a half, and so I don't want to bore you all to death anymore, but it's been a wonderful time to get together and talk about some great things regarding fish breeding techniques. And I do appreciate Steve, you joining us, Jeff, you being a moderator, of course, and some of the new ones that came on, a lot of them earlier, and most of all, for your continued support, Mayor, and Mayor is giving us super chats, and that kind of support really helps and goes a long ways. So thank you so much. Appreciated. And this week, anything going on this week? We're starting a new month tomorrow. This month, it's March, April. So April, February, March, and then April. So we have a good 2 months just before the auction. We're going to have a big auction in the Peel region. That's Mississauga, Brampton. And in case you're wondering where that is, that's Ontario, Canada. So thank you very much. Yeah. So it's kind of neat because the things that come at auctions are sometimes a surprise. If you're interested in keeping up with the information, it's posted at peelaquariumclub.org. and then there's a link to auction. And I'm updating the auction page tonight, tomorrow. We've made some changes on the rules, but it's 2 months away, but we're going to be advertising. Yeah, Peel, P-E-E-L. That stands for like the region here, a part of Toronto area. Outside of Toronto is the Peel region. So we're at the Peel Aquarium Club.org. Okay. So looks like Stephen P started streaming. Okay. Got it. Okay, so very nice. Well, we still have 20 connected right now. Thank you all 20 of you with 20 thumbs up. Appreciate it very much. We finally reached our goal of getting 100%. That's awesome. And I appreciate it very much being with you tonight. And if you want to go check out some other live streams going on tonight, hope you can. Me, I've got some changes to do, and maybe next week we'll talk about those changes. We're going to eliminate this 20-gallon below me and put in 4 pisto breeding tanks, because I've got 2 pair right now, 3 pair that need homes. I got to get them into breeding tanks. They're adult pairs, and I don't have a tank for them. So sooner I get them into a setup and an arrangement, I can get them breeding and make more fish. So thank you all for joining, and it was sayonara now for all of you to get with your fish and enjoy your weekend. So that's the most important thing, and above all, keep it real.